notice in attendance are Councilperson Peck is here, Councilman's here, Councilperson Morrow's here, Councilperson Malcolm's here, Councilperson Landon's here, City Administrator Beck's here, Mayor is here, City Clerk Sandra Walsh is here. Said, let's rise for the
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Really should maybe just kind of create a flag because no one can see it. Pull on my back.
Taking you to agenda item number 4, approval of consent agenda, council minutes of April 5th, 2023, and bills received. Do we have any discussion or corrections on that agenda? Okay, seeing none, I will accept a motion on that agenda item.
I move to approve the consent agenda, council minutes of April 5th, 2023, and bills received.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-2. Item number 5 is resident comments. If you're a resident of Belle Plaine and wish to make comments concerning tonight's agenda items, we'd like you to come to the podium. State your name and your address. Please address all comments to the entire city council. This is not a time to address individuals on the council or time for a debate. Please address the council with respect and courtesy. To the council, this is the time for us to listen to the ideas and information our residents are bringing to our attention. I also remind the council this is not a time for a debate. Please make all questions to the citizens as informational in nature as possible. And I also remind the council to please address the public with respect and courtesy that all of city residents deserve. With that being said, is there any resident who wishes to come to the podium? Please come forward.
Darren Internet. We're looking to purchase the 1502 6th Avenue property and fix it up. We know the city has a suit against it. We're kind of wondering where the city is in the process with that, and if that would affect anything we're trying to do with purchasing it.
We met
Yeah.
and he didn't have time to get on the agenda, so I just asked him to come to the meeting to let you all know where he was at with that and that he's interested, and he's given me some examples of other houses that he and his development group have redone. And
Which one's the 1502 6th Avenue?
the Burns,
Yeah.
the young couple,
Oh,
north.
the ones that started to remodel and then
Yeah,
separated and
they did a lot of the heavy lifting for whoever buys it because it's gutted. So they looked it over, stepped in to talk to them about their ideas, and I knew it wasn't going to be on the agenda, but I just wanted you all to meet them because they're interested in doing something to make it so that it's habitable. Sorry, that was my comment.
Tough position because it's not an agenda item, so they can't vote and give you a yes or no. They most definitely can give you a yes or no if it's placed on the agenda at the next meeting.
Right, I just wanted him to get introduced because he's kind of time is of the essence of. So I said, well, couldn't hurt anything for you just to come in and talk.
So who's that house owned by? I mean, it's not owned by the city, it's owned by another property.
No, the mother of the young lady that was in the process of buying or
And
fixing.
an opportunity to make the sale could happen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're set to close May 19th. I know the city had a suit, and I talked to Gage, and he had said that they're kind of at a standstill with where the city is and moving forward with the next step, whatever that would be. And just wanted to let you guys know that we're in the works of purchasing it with the intent to fix it up. And we can hold off the demolition maybe a little longer. We can get started on it. You know, I'd hate to buy it and then have something come through that I have to.
So this can't
Tear
get
it
on
down
the
right
next
away.
agenda?
Yeah, it can go on the next
Oh, let's
agenda.
do that then.
And I can't speak for the council tonight, but I assume if you have a good plan, we're more interested in refurbishing some of our properties like that in Belle Plaine rather than tearing them all down.
Sure.
It's never been the total plan, even though some people openly say that is the plan. No, it's not. If we have somebody that's serious about refurbishing the property and making usable, whether it's a usable rental or usable personal home, we're perfectly happy with that. So I would say, let's get it on the agenda for the next meeting and bring a plan with you on what you plan to
Yeah.
do with it.
Has he gotten an inspection report?
Yes, he's gotten an inspection report. He's aware of everything that needs addressed.
Okay.
Nothing
And
jumped out.
Well, if that didn't scare you away.
We do a lot of these and we're real familiar with this kind of work and we like doing it. So if there's any others ever, you know, we usually try to find them. So.
since time was of the essence, I told them we couldn't act on this, the council
Right.
couldn't act on anything, but that it'd be a nice time to get introduced because what they do is kind of what we're looking for.
May 3rd.
May
sounds-
3rd.
Yeah,
Got
okay.
that notes.
Yep.
So what, I'm just curious, where have you done properties before?
All over Benton County. We've done
Okay.
several in Benton, Atkins, Newhall, Van Horn, a couple in Keystone.
Okay.
And we do new homes as well. We're doing a small development in Newhall right now. We tore down the old lumberyard in Newhall and we rezoned it residential and we're building single family homes and duplexes. We got our start with remodeling old homes that needed a bunch of work. So,
Great.
So hopefully it can kind of grow into a new home, spec home type thing.
yep, we'd like to move down here and do a little bit of both, fix up what we can. And if there's lots available, we'd like to build. Just like
Where are you
we started with this one. I live in Van Horn. My
Okay.
family and I, we farm
Sure.
and then we do construction on the side.
Great.
You have infill lot plans
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, we talked to Steve about infill lots and we've come up with a narrow house that would fit on the older lot. Hoping to keep the price point under 250 or lower, depending when we build and what lumber prices are, but we like to keep them affordable too.
Great.
Sounds good.
Pleasure to meet you.
That's good to meet you guys.
Thanks for
See you
coming.
next week.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Any other residents who want to approach the council tonight? Okay, let's move to agenda item number 6, discuss for approval setting of a public hearing for Wednesday, May 17th, 2023 at 6:30 PM in council chambers at Belle Plaine City Hall to amend the current budget July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Sandy, if you want to tell them what they're doing on that one.
So a copy of what will be published, assuming you guys are cool with it, is in there, as well as a little bit more of a detailed list, kind of letting you know how I came up with the changes that I put in the budget amendment. The vast majority of them are grants that we received. So, you know, we have expense because we spent some of the grant money that we received. We didn't know we were getting those grants when the original budget was created, 18, 17, 16 months ago. A lot of it's that, some of it is, you know, we've made decisions to move things from here to there. We purchased some things we hadn't planned on that, you know, all came through here and council approved all of those things, but again, weren't in the original budget, so we just needed to make sure that they're represented there. That's the vast majority of what's in here. With a few exceptions, Jay and I went through road use and made a lot of changes. Not that you have to tell which line item things are for, as long as they're within the fund, but I felt it important to actually change them so we can kind of tell if we're on track with the plan that we had to try and break even there by the end of the year. And I think we're gonna have it. That's pretty much the majority of stuff. Closing a few accounts. You know, it's just, we're just trying to make it not quite so big, a little bit smaller. Account listing. If anybody has any specific questions, we're happy to address them.
Questions, council? I need a motion to set the public hearing.
I make a motion to approve the setting of public hearing for Wednesday, May 17th in council chambers for current budget.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Last chance for statements. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Now for a fun one, swearing in the new office. Finding sheets. He signs right there. Get him out here to the center of the room.
Thinking as thin as I can. There we go.
Probably have seen him in the patrol car a number of times. Now we finally got him through the physical, and he's going to be a full-time officer for the city of Belle Plaine. I might note the last time I called an ambulance, he was the first one through the door. So, and chief, he's the only officer that's ever showed up at my place to beat the ambulance there. So, not to say that I call him every week, but. So Tyler, if you will take that sheet, raise your right hand. I will read part of this and then you reread what I read and we will get through this. So I, Tyler, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability, discharge all the duties of police officer for the city of Belle Plaine, Benton County, Iowa, as now or hereafter required by law.
to the best of my ability, discharge all of the duties of police officer for the city of Belle Plaine, Benton County, Iowa, required by law.
Congratulations, young man, new officer. I need you to sign your name to here and here. Use this pen or
Here and here.
yes. And I will take those and then get them notarized. We'll get one back to you. And one will go into your file. So congratulations. We're happy to have you aboard. I think you're a good young man, and I think the public will really respect seeing you in this car.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we're back to full now.
Yeah.
And when does our next one do a physical run? Monday? If he passes that, then he'll go to school in May. We're getting there, folks. It's a slow process in a tight economy, at least when it comes to hiring police officers. Because who did I see? Sigourney's got a $5,000 bonus to become chief of police for Sigourney. Sigourney's a community our size. However, you'll be the only cop in Sigourney, so have fun with that one. And it's a little rougher community than Belle Plaine. Trust me, lived in Kyoto. We thought they were a wild bunch. Item number 8, Belle Plaine Community Development Corporation report. Brian, and you're here to introduce Ashley Dawn, our new executive director.
Raise your right hand.
Yeah, so it's, my pleasure, on behalf of the Belle Plaine Community Development Board to, introduce Ashley Drawn as our new director. She's been on the job since this is the 4th week, right?
Yep.
So So she's got a lot on her plate, but she's showed already, Judy would attest to, very organized, very hard worker, very good communicator. And so we're really excited to have her on board. So if you want to just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, a lot of you already know me. I was raised in Belle Plaine. And actually just 3 years ago, I moved back. My dad is Mark Duran. He's had a business here for 43 years. I went to Iowa State. I have a background in design. I've done manufacturing. I've been head of whatever projects, kind of doing coordinating, delegating projects. And right now, my job, I actually was thinking about applying for it. Then the Urn job came up, and then this job came up again, and I was really excited about it. And then I just was like, I'm going for it. So right now, it's my 4th week. I got really great support from the board. I'm really having a great time working with the city hall. I've met the mayor, I've met Sandy, I've met working with Steve. I'm very enthusiastic about the job, and I'm just excited to start working with the community and all the businesses. So it's a pleasure. So for this opportunity.
She already met the Iowa Economic Development Authority, most of them do.
And you do estimates on the side.
Yep.
Just it's in the blood. You can't help it. You know.
Questions, council?
Welcome. Yeah, you're starting off with, lots of fun stuff happening.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
good.
I'm working on full steams ahead with Ragbri and the 3rd of July. So busy, which is good.
Yeah.
And then I have one other thing on behalf of the board tonight. So I alluded, I don't know if it was 4 or 6 weeks ago at a meeting about the board desire. I think it might be time to exit being a member of Main Street, Iowa. So tonight, we're just simply gonna hand out some information. I think that hastily that night, we gave you that email we got that day. Since then, there's another one to answer Jennifer and a couple of people's questions. So we have a cover letter here, and this is a joke that I hate to cut back, but anyway, things are printed on the back too. But anyway, there's a cover letter, 2-page cover letter here from our board, and then the couple of emails from Main Street, Iowa again. So we'd like to be back on the agenda in a couple of weeks, even though this is nothing urgent. But in a couple of weeks, we'd like, if the plate isn't so full that night, to have a back and forth discussion, and we'll make sure there's a few more board members here that night to discuss it. So I just want to hand this out.
So like
I pass them around.
Like May 3rd, Brian?
Yeah, yep. And if that works, if you guys got a full plate, we probably could kick it down, 4 weeks, because it might be a long discussion, I don't know. But this way you can do some homework on it the next few weeks anyway. That would be it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
And as I told you, Ashley, welcome. You need our clerks for anything, feel free to come up here and pick their brains or ask for help. Stephen,
Yeah, I've already been pestering her.
No,
And she's been awesome, so.
Steve and my offices are both open too, so feel free that this can be your second office. Not that you have to live here, but you do. Now, if there's any way the city can help make your job easier, because the month of July is
Busy.
and then doesn't the first part of August, don't you guys have a golf outing?
It's September now, first part of September now. It used to be August.
Okay, then August you can
Yeah, so you have.
breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Andy, do you want to come forth and discuss July 4th activities?
here.
I thought he was just here to eyeball our insurance.
Now we had a discussion outside, who's talking, so. Here on behalf of the Lions Club, we're kind of planning our 4th of July celebration already. Just kind of talking over as a group, and just want to kind of inform the community. First of all, say thank you for all your support over the years. Well, this will be our last year doing the 4th of July as the Lions Club. So we're going to pass that on to whoever wants to take it over, I guess, from here. So we'll be here to help support whoever's going to take it over. Our numbers are down, our group's getting older. So that's kind of where we're at. So. That's all I have.
Ouch.
Don't worry, Ashley, you got a year.
I told her I'm excited.
I assume you want the same streets and everything closed on the same,
Yeah, we
Yeah,
need the
we'll-
permission for the park and
all right.
We'll,
So
we'll
those
come
things.
back and,
I think we do that the first meeting in June.
yeah, we'll come back and do that. So I also want to throw out there that, if it comes down to another group needing help with insurance or something, that's a big thing that the Lions Club does, is our insurance goes through the Lions organization. So if there's another group out there that needs help with that, they're more than welcome to reach out to us.
Well, we'll see if that group of people who were on Facebook at 10:30 a.m. before we ever kicked the parade off because of the rain, 4th of July this year.
Yeah, I've already reached out to that group, so.
See if there are
Hopefully.
some people there who want to put up or shut up.
How many Lions Club volunteers does it take to run, or how many volunteers would you reckon it takes to run the 4th of July? From parade to,
A lot. I mean, we've got our Lions Club group, we get everybody involved that we can. We get booster clubs, church groups at times, we've got the Rotary group helping out doing stuff. It's a pretty fair amount of people. Sitting here off the top of our heads, I don't think we can necessarily.
that's fine. I was just curious. So
I would say it would range anywhere from 50 to 75 people, at least. And then the big thing is, like Andy said, we're getting older and the guys are wearing out. And we'll have the discussion with anybody and we'll partner with them. But our ability to keep doing what we've been doing, it's a lot of work. Even though we do, on a small scale, to run that little game show down there is a big deal and it takes a lot of work. And our guys are 70 and plus.
it's been awesome every year of my life that I've ever went there. You guys can be very
Well,
proud of it.
we aimed it way back in when, if you remember Bob Wines, he's the one that said we got to cater to the kids. Because when you got the kids there, guess what? The parents are there too.
24 years, is that right, Mark?
Yeah. And so
24
since
years.
then, that's been our main objective is, cater to the children and make it work for them. So, and with costs and prices and everything else going on, we try to do the best we can, but we're wearing out. But we will entertain anybody if they want to sit down and talk as to what we can do to help support them. Like Andy said, insurance, whatever. We're more than happy. We would like to see it go on, definitely. It's just that a lot of the guys we're on the end of it, so.
I hear you. I was in a meeting the other night where the group asked if they wanted to hold another pancake breakfast in June. It didn't, the motion didn't get a second. I don't think it would have got more than one vote out of a 10-person group because they're tired of flipping pancakes after 8 months of it, so. And the same thing, older group.
Yep.
It's, a lot of these groups are sitting in 65 and older with, now, Andy's not 65.
Yeah, I bring that mean down.
You and Dahlquist bring that down, but,
A couple of years. We got some 80s too in there,
yeah.
and they're still active, God bless them,
Well, we got a year to start planning and plotting. We're bailing out. Police report, Chief Hudson.
So earlier today, I handed out some information there for you, some calls for service log, and then just a little update on the use and stuff for the I do every spring. Kind of goes over the properties that we've cited and stuff that's been completed, and stuff that's still in the works. Our Tahoe has been a little under the weather, to say the least, here lately. We had transmission rebuilt, by a company called Amco in Cedar Rapids. It was recommended to me as opposed to just completely replacing it. So we're saving about $2,000, I think, by doing that. And then there was also some issues under the hood with it. Had a new coil put in over here at Greider's BP, and then they replaced 4 lifters down at the dealership. So it's been it should be all set for the time being. We are slated to sell that hopefully in July when that meeting gets here. So just keep you up to speed. There's been some repairs to that. Silverado needed an alignment here recently as well. No big deal. And then, like Mayor said earlier, Andrew Bachelor's he's to take his physical agility test on Monday to get into the academy. This is his final attempt to do that. So he'll either be going to the academy in May, or we'll probably have it open. We're going on to that spreadsheet there with the nuisance stuff. You know, some of those have been rectified, some of them have not. I would be open to suggestions on what the best course of action is to deal with those. If you want to invite them in here for our next council meeting and have them explain their plan of action.
I'm here.
Good.
I'm one of them.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if I was supposed to wait for resident comments or.
Okay. So we could do that, or, you know, if you want me to move ahead with citing them, I don't know. That's entirely up to you guys. How you want me to proceed on those that are not completed.
How long has it been since they were notified?
All of those on there, the 10 days minimum has expired. So most of them are in that anywhere from 12 to 15 days, I suppose, something like that.
And they were cited with nuisance complaints?
They received nuisance abatement orders, yes. Yep, they were served.
Did nobody has sent a letter back wanting to appear in front of them?
Well, other than
I'm
Tom
here.
just showing up here tonight, that's the first.
I didn't know if I had to send a letter. I talked to Mike about it and told him I would be at the city council meeting. I didn't know if that was the same thing as, it's been 30 years. I've never been, never had to do this. So it's kind of a long project. It's a 5-year project for my house. And it's a total reconstruction of everything. So the trailer, what I have is a small box trailer. And what I do is I fill that up, and then my son-in-law has a large dump trailer. And what we do is we get that as full as we can. And then when we're doing a larger project, we bring the dump trailer in. We put everything from the larger project in there, and then we transfer everything from the smaller trailer into the bigger trailer so that we can dump it all at one big shot. Now, what's in the trailer right now is from the inside. It's the rest of the drywall and the lath. My bathroom is completely gutted right at the moment. My living room's completely gutted. The kitchen we have done pretty much. But we're putting all new electrical in. We're putting all new supports in, all new everything. I mean, all new plumbing, new stool, new everything. So the house was built in the 1800s, early 1800s. It was one of the first houses, I believe, in Belle Plaine, where the old general store was right in that area. And so we're running into many layers. I mean, we have like 2 layers of drywall. Then we have the plaster, and then there's lath over top of that. And then behind that's another layer of plaster. And then behind that is the very, very old boards that you would get from like a barn. Okay, and there's no sheeting whatsoever on the outside of the house. They just put the lath up, I don't know how to explain it exactly. So we are not only gutting the inside, we're doing the outside too. And so we have a project coming up this month. So I'm kind of asking for like a 30-day extension, because the one side by the kitchen, that rest of that side is coming off this month. I already bought all the supplies. They're already sitting there. I'm just waiting for my son-in-law to get the time to do it, because since I'm on disability, I can't do big projects at a time, but this one's probably going to be about a $2,000 project. So that's about the project sizes. But in the summertime, we work on the outside, in the wintertime, we're moving to the inside. So, I mean, if I tear much more down, I'm gonna be taking a bath outside. Let's just put, that's how thin I have it. But I have all new 4x4 supports that are gonna go in there. I have all new sheeting that's gonna go up, and then I have the house wrap that goes up obviously after that. So, it's a little bit bigger one because I'll have that Alliant Energy come and turn the electricity off to unhook the meter, the box, all that's gotta come off so that we can put all that stuff up. And then my plan is then to get around to the front window and do that. So I have that coming on order, and that'll be in June or July that I'll do that. And then the next side of the house, we'll get a new window in there, new supports in there. I've already moved the front door, got a new back door, and the kitchen's pretty much done except for upper cabinets. That's got all new cabinets in it, all new electrical wiring. Pantry's all done with all new electrical wiring. I had Alex Schneider did all my drywall in the kitchen. In the fall, we're putting a new breaker box in the bottom, in the basement, and then we will rewire all 3 rooms that we have gutted now at the moment. So I
What
mean,
was the complaint, the original complaint? Was it just,
it's a trailer full of stuff.
okay.
Is
What makes it
is.
compliant? Is a tarp over that? Does that make it
No,
to
it's
where
just out there.
it's removable? So how often are you removing the
About
goods?
every 2 months. And like I said, once that trailer gets empty, it's gonna get filled right back up again. That's what I'm trying to kind of get across to. I mean, once I get this project done, he's bringing the jump trailer in for this project, because we're gonna have all those slats going up the entire side of the house. We'll have all the old 2x4s that'll be taken out, all the new 4x4s that are going in to restructure the whole thing. And then, I mean, it's a big project. I mean, it's
How long do you think it'll take till you're all done? You're all done with
4 years.
4 years?
Yes.
So you're saying there could be 4 years of heavy construction?
No, the
materials?
demolition's almost done.
Okay.
The inside's pretty much totally demoed. Like I said, the kitchen's been demoed, it's already put back together. By Christmas time, I want my bathroom put back together. I'm ready for my house to be put back together. I want my bathroom put back together, I want my living room put back together, and my daughter's room will be all put back together. So the only room we will have left to demo is the ceilings, basically. And I have to get a structural engineer in there first, because I have one bow up there
Where's
that I want to
the
make
demo
sure.
trailer sitting? Is it in the driveway, or is it in the yard, or in the
It's like
back?
an alleyway. And last year we made a project to tear down a big old yellow shed that was kind of falling apart and it was full of junk. So we totally took all the junk out, went to the dump several times with that. We tore that down. So the trailer's kind of sitting where that yellow shed was. So it's about, you guys got like a 4-foot easement there, and then it's probably another 4 foot over, I would say maybe 8 foot into our yard there.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm planning on in the next month having the big dump trailer come, so we can put all the debris in, and then that'll get dumped. And then there'll be a little pause, because the window really won't have any debris, because that's already all been done. We already got all new sheeting up there. That's already all been done. But when we go to finish the inside, we have to take all these black boards that are on the inside, have to come off in order to put all the new wiring in. I mean, I don't want to take all those layers off, but if you're going to rewire a whole house, there's not much choice. You don't have much choice other than to take that all entirely apart. So, I mean, I don't want to take the ceiling down if we can help it, because it's going to be a really big mess. But I'm afraid we have a bow up there, and I want to make sure there's nothing busted or anything that needs to be structurally fixed. In the kitchen, we had to do a lot of restructuring with busted things up there. And I'm just hoping and praying that we don't have to do that here, because that was like a really big setback for us.
I think what Mitch was getting at is, this is just a nuisance complaint about the trailer. This doesn't have anything to do with the nuisance.
But I just wanted to be aware that once the trailer gets emptied, if I get a 30-day inspection and empty it, it will get filled back up, in another month or two when we do the other 2 sides of the house.
So is this just in a violation, Chris, or was there someone complaining about it?
Just an observation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think if you could, probably one of the ways to maybe help so that stuff isn't flying around is getting a tarp over it.
I can
Would
do
that
that.
be acceptable to wear? Because obviously if you're working on a house, it
I
sounds
bet
like you've got a plan, and it sounds like you're
It
trying to
is.
do right.
We're about 2 years into the project, so we probably have about 2 years left, maybe 3. Depends on how much stuff we find. I mean, when you're remodeling an old house, things just jump right on out at you. I mean, you know.
605 10th Street, that's gotta be almost Gwynville property. Isn't it right?
Used to
Yeah,
own
it's, I think
From Gwynville?
it's right next to Red
Used to
Holland's
be,
house.
Holland Pleasantville used to own it.
Right next to Red Holland.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Holland's our neighbor, yeah.
Yeah, that house is old.
Yeah.
No, I
Very.
know, but that's gonna be the oldest part of town.
I think the reason you have lap on the
Once
outside
we move
is,
back inside, then I have Elans come in and we're totally gutting the bathroom and the whole
That's a good
floor's
house
gotta
to
be,
save.
yeah. So I'm trying to save it. I am trying to save
Yeah.
it, but it is going, with my social security disability, it's going to be a very lengthy thing for me because I can only spend about $2,000 a month, you know? And
Well,
some of these projects are quite pricey.
I think if you keep the trailers dumped when they get full as often
Okay.
as possible, and then.
Well, so
when
far
they
it's
are-
been 2 years and this has been the first, you
And
know,
then
time where
keep
we,
a tarp over them,
Okay.
so you don't have any, is that acceptable to the council?
Yeah,
And
that's
Okay.
what I.
and just keep
I
the
appreciate
chief
it.
informed on where you're
Okay.
at with the project. And
I kind of talked to Mike about it a little bit and said, I don't know if I can ever keep the trailer completely empty because, you know, I'm hoping that once we get the other demo done inside, the little trailer can just go away. We won't need to demo anything else. I mean, everything will be done. Then it's just a matter of putting it back together.
And if we have questions in the future, we'll get a
Free-
hold of you
free
and
to
find
call,
out.
yeah.
Is that all right, council?
Yeah.
She came in and addressed the issue, and I think that's the important part.
Thank you.
I'd love to know who I'll look that up. Find the original owner. We've got, at the museum, we've got paperwork on all the old houses.
Like I said, somebody told me it used to be the old general store way back and then
Could be.
we had the original cabinets in
Store
there,
in that
the old metal
house right
ones,
across
yeah.
the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
stalls.
Lori Stoll lives
Yeah.
across the street now and then Helen
Right.
Pleasantville used to own
Yeah.
both of those
Yeah,
houses,
okay.
yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, council, back to the chief's original question. All these have been cited as nuisance, and she is the only one that's responded.
I wish everyone like her came in and explained what they were doing.
So what's usually our next step if we get no response from?
Well, I mean, in the past, we've either cited them into court and then wait for the court system to do their thing, which they typically would fine them, and that would be, the end of it. The courts don't usually issue an order for the city, authorizing the city to clean it up. So, but in the past, we've also done follow up with a letter, having them come to a council meeting to basically explain what their next step is going to be since they didn't take care of it.
Well, there's a lot of junk vehicles. Is it unlicensed, inoperable vehicles mostly?
Both, yeah. And I'm not done. I mean, that's not a complete list. There's more to come. That's just what I've got done so far this spring, in addition to all the other stuff that I've got going on.
But of this list, there's quite a few that have the Y under the last right column.
And then they took care of it.
Yeah, so we're only talking about.
Yeah.
3, yeah, well, 4.
Yeah, there's not a lot that are not in line. There's a few.
7,
8.
8.
Yeah, I'd say follow up with the letter and ask
Yeah.
them to explain themselves.
They follow up with a letter on those and ask them to explain where they're at, and or the council would like to have a discussion. Anything else, chief?
Not at this time. No.
You can get rid of that SUV fence.
Yeah, shouldn't we have the new one already? I mean, minus the delay. We didn't get lucky there.
We would have had it, wouldn't we?
We should have.
Yeah, so we missed the boat on that one.
It would have been this month, right? May, wasn't that the original?
Originally, I think it was like, April, May, and then all of a sudden it was July.
So we probably would have got dinged anyway, because the transmission went out,
March.
yeah.
Hopefully it'll have a good resale value.
Sure. Let's go to agenda item number 11, discuss possible approval, resolution 230407, a resolution approving transfer of funds in year 2023.
So these are two items that were originally on the original budget. I just didn't find where we actually approved it by resolution to move them. As I'm coming across these things, I'm just bringing them instead of like saving them all up. Next year, we should have a whole lot less of this, just because we did it with the passing of the budget. Did a lot of the parts that would normally have a transfer associated with them, so. We levy for community center money, but it comes into the general fund, so we have to move that to the community center. And, since we exceed our $8.10 levy, we are allowed to, request emergency levy, which we ask for, and it has to, it comes into the emergency fund, and we actually have to move it to the general fund to use it. So usually once a year, we try and make that transfer when we get somewhere near the end of the year. So I may not actually make these transfers until we get into June, like before we close the year, but I'm just trying to bring things forward as they're coming up. I don't forget.
Questions?
Well, didn't they tell you to do that, keep it current with it with the audit?
Yeah, as close as we could.
Right.
Yep. So I'll wait until we get the last. And then I'll make the transfer. But it shouldn't be more than the numbers I have down here.
Questions? Motion?
I'll move to approve resolution 230407, a resolution approving transfer funds in the fiscal year 2023.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Your treasurer's report from
No,
Mark.
this-
I skipped one. Oh, yes. Discuss for possible approval to grant a utility credit of $284.16 at 1112 14th Street, Belle Plaine, Iowa, created by a broken pipe to a watering. Questions? Did they have a plumber fix this, or did they fix it themselves?
My understanding was up there.
Questions? Need a motion if we're gonna accept this one.
I make a motion to approve utility credit of $284.16 at 1112 14th Street.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Last chance for discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Now, we'll go to the treasurer's report, the budget report, the solar report. And I'll get to that interloan fund loan for garbage and landfill after you ask your questions or get your discussion done. The treasurer, the budget, the solar report. So have at it on those first.
Addressing some of the negative funds on the treasurer's report. General fund, although it shows a negative, our big deposit comes in April. So it will offset that and should carry us hopefully to the end of the year. We had talked about road use tax. It's gonna be close, but it's looking promising that we will break even there. Obviously, you all know the problem with the detention basin. We are still waiting on final paperwork to be able to do the last drawdown with SRF, which we don't yet have from AECom.
What's the latest on that?
Good question. He doesn't answer me very often. was supposed to, the last time I talked to him, which was like, I'm gonna say, first week of April, maybe the tail end of March, he thought we would have it by, maybe the 10th. Haven't seen it, and I've reached out to him probably 4 times with no response at this point, so I don't know where we're at.
Maybe we need to invite him to a meeting.
Or maybe we need to send a letter from our lawyers saying, the judge ordered this, get it done, or we'll see you in court with another lawsuit against you guys. I mean, there's no excuse for this.
Right.
It was all court ordered, so why don't we have Jennifer send a letter? And have her send a letter to, what's the engineer's name?
Ross.
Ross Hilton.
I would say send that letter, whoever the president or CEO is that company. And just outline what was done in court, and we're waiting on this. When do we get it, or do we have to go to court to get it? And hope they realize that's a threat. I don't want to go back in the courtroom again. There's no excuse for it. I mean, not to mention that when he testified, he would have swore he was WRH's engineer, not ours. And I understand that the engineers work with the construction companies, but when we hire them, for
Yeah.
God's sakes, at least make it look like you care about us.
Yeah, we changed companies because he changed companies, as I recall.
Yeah, and if you remember that whole thing, we lost the original engineer's green card ran out. The Feds shipped him back to Canada. We'd been better off with him. We'd been better off if we'd have snuck him across the Canadian border and had him down here working for us for cash. Because he would have stayed right out at the sewer plant and yelled at that construction company about what needed to be done and why. Is that all right with everyone that we have Jennifer send a letter?
Yep.
Unless Jennifer says, no, that's not the way to approach it. Won't do any good to bring the engineer in here. I'm not sure whether it's him fumbling it or they got hierarchy in their firm, doesn't understand what they're supposed to do and why they're supposed to do
No,
it.
I'm sure it's probably sitting on someone's desk.
Well, I mean, we have to have the lawyer rattle some cages. That's how we get UP to do some.
My understanding is they were not satisfied with the change order 2 that WRH submitted because they didn't want to sign off on items that they didn't have anything to do with, AKA items that came out of the lawsuit. So they went back to WRH, who apparently was going to rewrite it for them. And I think they were still waiting, or at least the last time we talked, they were still waiting.
Run this by Jennifer and ask her what we think the letter is appropriate, but she may think the letters are more appropriate to WRH, or maybe it's a letter to the judge saying, hey, we can't make hay out here if you won't let us bail it.
Okay, I will do that. And then, the water project, we got that $15,000 grant in this month. So probably the balance, which is our 25%, was a 75% grant, will be transferring into water operating or transferring water operating revenue out to zero out that fund, because that is done. And that leaves landfill, which we'll talk about.
So any questions on A, B, or C? All right, let's go to item D. Let's go to garbage landfill fund and explain.
Okay, so you are all aware that we've been struggling with a negative balance in the garbage fund pretty much all year. Although we adjusted rates a while back. It really has caused us just kind of hold our own. It really hasn't,
Caught us up.
really hasn't caught us up. Although the new rates with the new company, when they kick in July, will help. Obviously, that's not going to do anything for our fund balance by the end of June. So we have a couple of options. We either go ahead and leave the fund negative and take a ding from the auditors again, like we have for the last couple of years. Or like we have done with a couple of other times, we could do an interfund loan transfer and borrow money from one of our other funds that has money just to make it not negative, and then it would have to pay the other fund back over time. I can go either way.
The more I think about it, the more I'm willing to take the ding from the auditors and see where we're at after a year with the new company. And then if we're still sitting at $12,000 or something, we do something then next year. I mean, the ding from the auditor, we know why we are where we are. It's not like we're not paying bills. It goes back to that famous, everybody gets one free item. Ding was not free, folks. We had to pay for it. We just didn't realize it for 4 years.
How does this negative balance compare to the previous years?
It's fairly close. I think we were maybe a little bit more negative than that last year, but not a lot. Pretty close.
So we are charging now for
The extra items.
extra items. So we're not gonna see it get worse. Yeah, I agree. We're just new into our fiscal budget, correct? Year.
End a little bit better than that, but it's not
Exactly.
gonna change a lot in July.
Oh, new garbage cans going in and out. July 1st.
You know, if we plotted it around right, we could have like a bunch of other people help us.
Sure.
Okay, never mind.
Grab a garbage bin here and drag it out.
Come on in. Could you?
Whose house is yours?
That's right.
I think we should just write it out. Okay.
And you can explain to the auditors if you want to.
The mayor said.
It'll still it will still be a ding, but I mean, that's all that comes of it. It's not like they,
We don't get
pay you
fined.
or anything. There's no
No,
fine
no.
associated to it. They just
We know it.
don't like it. It's against
You
the
just
rules.
don't get your little.
Place you're dinged automatically because it's a small town. You can't properly count money.
Right.
Every school in the state gets dinged with that because even the big schools with all the people they have, still they don't have enough people counting the original cash that comes through the door. I guess they want you to have 5 people there to all count it in. They used to hate it at Keep Up when I would say, if the first person that counts it is a thief, I don't care how many people you have counted, it's already gone. All right, let's go to committee of the whole, discussion on possible nuisance properties. I sent out that and then printed off our code. And I guess what we have to look at is if you've gone out and looked at some of these. The ones that we have filed for major nuisance complaints on were obviously properties that had holes in the roof, had doors off, had windows missing. I mean, they're just obvious nuisance property. Some of these, if you go around and look at them and you go, well, how do we define them? Because the roof's curling up and it's not a nice looking house. And they're using it for whatever they're using it for. My guess is storage. Does that make it a nuisance property that we should go after? Because if there are, then there are some other properties in town that never made this list that probably should make that list.
Well, I have a question on the 1611 11th Avenue. That one I don't feel should be on this list.
If you talk as a neighbor, it certainly should be. There's a garage built on that property that's not even close to being up to code.
Oh, is that what it
They
is?
built that garage on dirt that wasn't level or settled. It's eroding into the neighbor's yard. That's where the complaint came from initially.
Going downhill?
I'm sorry?
Is it going downhill?
Yeah,
Back?
so they basically threw some dirt back there and they built a garage on it that wasn't leveled and it wasn't packed and it's washing into the neighbor's yard. So I think he would let you walk through his driveway to take a look at it and see what he's doing at. From the street, it looks like it's gonna be a nice place once you get back in there. Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
There's-
I got pictures of it too, if you want to see them. I took some pictures that day I was up there.
Do we just want to start from the top, what the mayor has and discuss them, or what do we want to do? Because you had asked, what are we going to consider a nuisance, for like 130 or 1003 and a half, just reading our code. When 14503, number 4, when any portion of thereof has been damaged by fire, earthquake, wind. So when I was out inspecting all these houses, the roof is tarp and plastic along with missing shingles. So that is damaged by wind because it's missing shingles, which is then in turn affecting the structure of the property.
Didn't we have an issue with?
You had a neighbor here, I think, a while back.
We did. Because he was constantly picking up the blue out of his yard.
Mhm.
And the tarp
So
almost.
if we're going to allow a house to not have a roof on it, I mean, you're already setting that house up for failure.
I guess what I was wanting to know is, didn't we go to court on something at one time, chief, way back? And because there was a cover on a tarp cover on a roof and we lost.
Yes.
We did, but I'm not arguing the tarp. I'm saying that it's a nuisance, dangerous
Per
building
the
because per code,
It's a nuisance.
it's been damaged by wind because it's missing shingles on the backside. They don't have a tarp back there and it's missing shingles. You can see the plywood. I'm not referring to the tarp at all.
That's almost all gone.
Yeah.
Tarp.
Mhm.
Maybe there's like remnants left.
Yeah.
That one also has a problem with the shut off, doesn't it, Steve?
Yes.
That's the one we've,
Is that a rental property or the owner's?
Yes.
It's a rental.
It's random.
well, we can go through each one of these and thumbs up or thumbs down on whether we should file nuisance complaints on it. Reminding you, though, we better have enough so that it's economically feasible to bring the inspector. Because if you only have 3 or 4 of them, I don't think that's very economically feasible. And I think you're starting to set, if it's missing shingles down to the plywood, that's a good concept. But if it's missing shingles and there's shingles underneath those top shingles, how do we deal with that?
Not arguing that. I'm arguing that
Okay,
there's
okay, I
plywood
just,
showing.
because I'm thinking of one I looked at on 8th Street that's missing shingles. You can see shingles underneath
Yep.
it. And it's also a place that I just got told again, it's full of cats. The chief raided it with a search warrant about 5 years ago. We found 2 cats.
Mhm.
They must have had a good warning system to hide them.
It's allowed, yeah.
And I mean, I think we all understand that things like that happen where you do a double layer and you're going to miss a couple here or there.
Some may have 4 layers of shingles
Yeah.
on them with the derecho may have ripped off.
I'd like to.
Sure.
Okay, let's start with 1307 Third Avenue. That's
So
1,003 and a half.
It's you're going from a different, my order list is in a different order than yours, so they're looking at a different
Oh.
order.
We're looking at this one.
Okay, my bad. I was
Sorry.
looking at the. All right, so the first one we discussed was the 7th Avenue one you brought up. That one we think should be inspected, right?
Yes, I feel it should.
Rest of the council, is that a
Yep.
thumbs up?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Keep track of these, Steve. All right, 1111 11th Street.
That one I didn't read by.
I did.
That one, the garage is bad and the foundation is crumbling in the back.
I have a comment. And a lot of these homes are vacant. And obviously, as you said, some of them.
Right.
And I have a concern about the city. A home inspected to see if it is habitable. If there's no one living there and the owner potentially does not have any plans to have anyone living there, the standard for inspecting to see if it's habitable, does that same standard use just for storage? In other words, do we have to, as a city, need to spend money sending an inspector in who will send a report back saying the plumbing is bad, the electric is bad, when there's no intention of that home ever being lived in, and this city has to incur the expense of that? Or do we look at
I guess I
this-
look at it, if I'm living in a house and that's next to me, I certainly hope the city do that.
Okay, the other part I was going to say though is not to ignore it. The roof is good, the foundation is awful looking, but it doesn't have question because this gets expensive for the city.
No, I see what you're saying. We take that into account. I
mean,
understand what you're saying.
Then we should
Ratio would be,
address this,
you know, like.
our own code.
From a neighbor
Yeah,
that may not like the person that lives
How
next to him.
many of them are in that good a shape that people are just using for storage or whatever? You know what I mean? I mean, that
Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up just as a consideration because, you know, we know that they're gonna come back as not being inhabitable and owners say, so what? Nobody's gonna live there anyway. I keep it for storage. You know, so that's an issue that we need to consider, I think.
Well,
But if that's the case, then how's the area zoned? Is it zoned for residential? Is it zoned as a storage commercial? Because now you're getting
if
into
you're
the
not
point.
renting it out, you're off base.
What's that?
If they're not renting it out as a commercial, then it's still residential
Okay,
property.
but if they're
storing
using it
their
as
own.
storage, okay.
But I hear what you're saying, and I'll take the one you're talking about at 11th Street here. If that was sitting next to me, I wouldn't be happy with that property there, and I feel quite a few complaints from some neighbors in there about that property, and I usually tell them we got bigger fish to fry than that house. We've taken one out of that area, but. And I hear what you're saying
Yeah.
too, Judy.
Now, this is a fine line to walk, because I get it, but you know, I kind of, with the comments that I just know that, you know, when you have someone like the Meeks who worked really hard to fix their house and then they had to have that house next to them that, you know, they didn't appreciate, and people don't, when others are making a real, like the lady here, making a real attempt to save her house and to fix it up, and then other people let things go and then use an excuse, well, it's storage. But the scenario that you laid out was that if the windows aren't broken, if the door looks good, if it's not that bad, if there's a roof on it,
And it's painted.
and then, but there's
If
the
you got all
inside,
that stuff. why-
but the inside is bad,
Why
where
would
it's
you
not
make it,
habitable, or
you
there's
know?
mold inside to where if the inspector went in, he'd condemn it. Well, then is that the point to where, how far do we take that? And again, let's just say the foundation's bad, but if everything around it outside is okay, there's not junk in the yard, the roof's on there, there's no windows, then we move forward, or do we? do we go to the low hanging fruit and we let that one sit for a while and watch it?
I think
Also another end of that,
Sleeping
of,
night thing.
like you're saying about, inspecting it, is if we send a letter to them, you know, is it possible we can send a letter saying your foundation, you know, it's been looked at, your foundation could be questionable. You might want to take a gander at it, possibly have it fixed without going through the inspection process.
I'm sure we could send a letter to every one of these and say, your property has been brought to the attention of the council and is on a list where the council is trying to determine if that should be inspected for potential nuisance property. Possibly.
I think that's a good idea.
Possibly, because I can tell you right now, and I'll get this out of order, but 11, 13, 14th Street. Oh, it's the next one in line.
Yeah.
The owner of that property approached me 2 weeks ago and wanted to know what the demolition process was. And so I explained to him to go to Mark, get a demolition permit. And then he explained to me that that house, quilts, that was her quilting house till the derecho hit it. And it put holes in the roof, and so now it leaks. And he says, so I know it needs to come down. So if we send a letter like that to him saying, hey, this property is, you know, you got to do something with it soon, that might encourage him to finish what he has verbally said he's going to do.
I think that's a good idea, you
And-
know, your
and
property's
have them
come to our
bring in
attention.
have them come in with a plan or a letter or email to Steve or the mayor, you know, saying, hey, this is my plan.
Well, we could send, rather than sit here and try and argue each one of these, what if we just send a letter to you? I know we've got one we said inspect, then you better find 3 more.
Yeah.
You don't want to bring the inspector in for one because the cost on that's prohibitive. I do know another one on there is
Oh, I got it. I said yes to
806
most of them.
6th Avenue, Al's vacant trailer. He's told me that's coming down.
That's his next one, isn't it?
That's the next.
Which one was that?
Next one.
The
806
trailer on
6.
6th Avenue.
Alright.
He also told me that, let me find the number on it.
Um,
909 3rd Avenue.
Yeah, that one, he has intents to have a foundation inspector come in and work on it or look at it and tell him what needs to be done to the foundation in May. But if we're just gonna declare it a nuisance property, then he's not gonna even start that process. So I would say, and he's got one at 802 6th Avenue, which needs paint and siding. Probably needs to have the shingles replaced, but the one on 3rd Avenue, the one on 6th Avenue, both could become rental properties or usable properties, which I think he intends to. The trailer's coming out on 806 6th Avenue.
okay, if we're gonna jump all over here,
Well, I'm,
60, I know, I'm not, 601 8th Street, 605 8th Street. I believe 605 is the one next to the alley. That one has not had any, they started construction on it. And it's been in construction forever.
oh, yes, it's the one that's got an arch truck
Yeah,
parked
and they've
by it.
owned it for 9 years, so that's definitely an inspect one.
Yes, because that one, I was told they ran out of money when they were trying to flip it. And that's why it just stopped working.
So right now, to be clear, we have 2 yeses, the first one and that one, 605.
605.
I think,
Are you talking
909
about?
3rd Avenue.
Darren, there's a list for you here.
That's why we're here.
oh,
601 8th Street. I know which one you're talking about. That's the one we rated for cats. That's one that's got missing shingles with shingles underneath.
yep,
And I know they're just using it for storage.
Okay.
I don't understand. I was told one time Brad Cook had that as a rental. It was a
He
nice
did.
place.
He did.
You know, I always thought because bedroom the second floor's got a little balcony built out of it. I can see it from my kitchen window. I go, why did they just let that sit crap?
I think one that we can take off would be 622 Sixth Avenue. In my opinion, I've seen him working on that house. He's an over-the-road trucker, and he's there every weekend working on it.
Oh, yeah, this one.
Yeah, I had that one listed as being rehabbed.
Mhm. He's been working on it every weekend.
622.
Cross that one off. Uh, 9/3, I'm looking.
Dick Routed Teens.
Who owns it?
Which one?
Family, I think.
909
Oh,
The family.
909.
Dick and then Robin lived there for a while, and she doesn't live there anymore.
Yeah, it's vacant.
Septics, it's like one of the last septic systems in town in,
Yeah, I knew that
City
there was
limit.
a plumbing issue there.
It's kind of smooth.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Oh,
kind of
is that
off,
where the
it's off
sand
grid.
point's at?
you said the 1307 Third Avenue is having somebody come and look at the foundation.
Yes. Right. Show me that little sheet.
Oh, yes.
I got 12 sheets to look at. Yes, that's the one he says, it's got a guy coming in to work on the foundation in May. And then he says, I know it needs painting, but he says the inside of the house is perfectly fine.
Okay.
So I guess you let it go at that and see if he.
See what
I
happens.
will pull him in and tell him, follow up with the foundation. Don't let that go or you'll find this on a list.
Mhm.
We'll trust you on the trailer if it leaves. And then I'll remind him on I keep calling it the other 8th Street one, but it's actually addressed as 6th Avenue. It's on the corner,
Oh, the corner lot.
6th Avenue and 8th Street. It's the old Hughes property. If he painted it and actually put new shingles on, I don't know what he says the inside's all right. All right, we got 2 for inspection.
Let's go back, what was?
618.
Yes, the 1505 Fourth Avenue says currently occupied, so I didn't drive past that one. What's wrong with that one?
Which one?
1505 Fourth Avenue, currently occupied.
They look at my notes, my house.
Is it?
1505 Fourth, at Steve's house.
Okay.
605.
That, before we even just, that one's in court.
They brought it up and then jumped.
I think we should just wait till Steve gets done and
Or I can have a closed session request. I don't know.
I don't
I
think
can't,
that's legal to put that in closed session
for me, okay, I just,
because it's not a part of your evaluation.
okay.
I just think let the court thing work out there and then we come back and see what's at. Some guys living in part of it that's doing rehab work on it. If you go down there, they're working rehab on it, aren't they? Aren't they trying to replace the roof? Shingle roof?
Whatever happened with the black mold and,
I haven't been,
asbestos or whatever with that.
it's all in, it's evidence and
Court procedure.
I can't talk about it.
I just
Yeah,
know it's still
I'm-
a court issue with the insurance.
So if anybody wants to email me about it, I'll be happy to talk about it, but I feel like I can't talk about it here. I'm not trying to be,
So I really think we leave that one alone because it's a lawsuit. I mean, there is a lawsuit pending on. And if somebody says, well, you're leaving that because that's the city administrators, no, we're not. But if we step in, where's that gonna put us legally if we're interfering on something that? Now, if he wins a big lawsuit and doesn't do anything with his property, then we will be stepping. What did we decide about 601 8th Street? That's the one with the balcony. I'm told cats, but we've never discovered cats.
That one I really didn't see foundation wise or anything, like you did mention. Shingles are
Yes.
missing, but there's shingles under the,
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
it's like
shingles under
a
the
2 or 3
shingles.
layers roof, so.
We send a letter on that one.
I'd say that one deserves a letter, just to see how they respond, because it. Well, I was back here with junk cars. And as I drove by the other day, one of the junk cars had moved.
Is the chief sending the letter on these or the attorney?
Well, if we have the attorney do it, you know you're gonna pay legal fees. Are we able to write a letter to them? Sandy?
What do
Is
you
there-
want this letter to say?
Something to the effect that your property has recently been listed as a potential nuisance property by the city of Belle Plaine, and that you probably need to make some improvements to it, or you could very well find yourself having a nuisance complaint filed. And if that stirs them to come in here and ask the council what's wrong with it, then we can tell them. Or for them to come in and ask you what's wrong with it. Or come in and ask Steve, or if they dig deeper down the hallway, come in and ask me.
Do you want us to take a stab at it, chief, or do you want to take a stab at it?
I can help you do it.
Okay. Between the two of us, we'll figure it out.
Okay, that saves us legal fees.
What about the 1611 11th Avenue, the one that, we've got the foundation of the garage, is it garage, but it's not properly,
That, and the house is gutted as well, and there's a basement window on the backside that's nothing covering it.
you
And
know,
there's critters in and out of it, according to the neighbor. I've not seen it, but the neighbor reported that to me.
yeah, we talked about that earlier, but we didn't decide what to do.
Do they have the right permits for everything? I mean, to build a garage, to,
That's a good question. Mark left.
I can look.
I mean, that'd be
Not
one
off the top of my
avenue.
head, but
Yeah, I mean, that'd be one avenue to go.
Probably, I mean, I guess we've never run into this before where it's kind of on a hill and the ground wasn't properly prepared before something was constructed. What would we normally do in that case? Have you ever run into it?
No.
Wouldn't that be part of the final
I,
claim that it's complete? Mark,
yeah. I don't know.
Was this
I don't know when it was
garage
built.
recently been done?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
yes.
Oh, I know where that one's at.
It's at an
Small
angle.
house.
It's
At an
at
angle.
it's at an angle, yeah.
And the garage.
So
is
if you build a
sitting-
garage, you do have to have a building
But,
permit, correct?
but it
Yes.
looks okay from the street.
That's where you start.
Yeah, it looked to me
I'll look
like
tomorrow.
they let their kids pick where the location of the garage.
So,
I was down on 11th Street, that's why I couldn't pick it. Now, I know where it's at.
11th Avenue.
And I have a big question mark on my nose where I drove around.
That one was 16.
What are the addresses of the 2 properties that will be inspected? I have 605 feet and
103 and a half.
thank you.
You said 605
605 8th Street.
That's the one I was missing.
That's Menard's truck.
Yeah.
I've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that didn't write down what you want. 111 11th Street. You talked about it, but you never decided what about it.
Oh. Well,
Just a letter.
That's,
That's
yeah,
what we
I
started
think-
talking
That's
about.
what we started talking about, yeah.
I think we start with a letter there and see what response comes out of that.
1113 14th Street.
Multi-house.
That was
He's gonna
He's
demo
gonna
it.
demo it.
a dumb one, maybe.
Letter. There you go.
Yeah, send Ward a letter on that.
909 3rd Avenue. That's the owner's deceased.
I think that's one that we should move on.
Inspect.
Okay, that's the one with the sand point.
Yeah.
Did you start with a letter? I mean, maybe they would say we don't want it.
If the owner is deceased, could this possibly be tied up in an estate or with other family members?
Should be settled by now. I would think.
I think there were 2 family members listed on Beacon as the owners.
Oh, it's not his anymore? Or it says that he and Robin.
I believe there's 2 names. I can't look it up.
Why don't we send them a letter and see what the response is? Be an interesting house to own. Yeah, that one I just listed as junky house.
That one I had, when I looked at it, I don't have it as bad, but I can see it getting there without any attention. I would
I
say
would say a
letter.
letter.
Which one you talking about there?
1612 9th Avenue.
Malfeas.
Yep, that was a complaint from a neighbor, critters in and out.
Maybe from the backside then,
Could be, yeah.
because I couldn't see anything from the road.
802 down.
8026.
826 Avenue, the mayor said that he was,
That's the one that he said, that's actually the one I think should be listed as 8th Street, but so.
Yeah, the Hughes, former
The
Hughes
Hughes
house.
is always, never came out that
So
front.
we've already got answers on that one.
Yes, and I will remind him of what he has on this sheet. And if we don't see any response, then we'll have to.
11th Street.
I thought we already decided to send them a letter.
No,
Maybe I just
no, I
wrote
don't
it down.
remember.
there
I
is.
don't remember.
I don't have anything.
It's near Franklin Park.
Mhm.
I think actually, isn't the address of that 913th 11th Street?
No, it's
No, it's 9/11.
No, it is 9/11.
9/11's gone. That was the one on the alley. If you look on Google Maps, it goes to 913, the Summer House.
So that, okay, so it's the one next to her house.
The brown one.
It's not on the corner, it's one end, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's
one
one
end.
that's gone.
So it's the
Oh.
yeah.
That garage has holes in the roof and,
That's
foundation and then the roof on the house as well.
Well, yeah,
So it's
it's
a storage house.
a storage house.
We start with a letter and find out what we need to do.
Yeah, I think we do a letter.
All right, send a letter.
Steve, your question on the 909 3rd Avenue. It looks like there's just one person on the deed holder.
Okay.
Who is
Um,
it?
But there's somebody in charge of that house. So,
Maybe that's where my confusion was.
well, there's 2 names on the deed. It's-
Oh, okay.
It was husband and wife, I believe. So,
601 A Street, is that a letter?
Mhm. That's
So
why-
we have 3 inspection houses, right?
And
We have 2.
Two.
I have 2.
I have,
so 605 and 1003.5, correct?
Mhm.
Did we have 1612 Ninth Avenue? What did you say?
Letter.
Okay. Can't read my hand there.
Well, are we willing to go after 2 with inspection? I don't have a problem.
Let's show you some feedback on the letters.
Or you could hold and see what feedback is in the letters, and if someone with no response, put them on the inspection list.
That might be a good idea, then we might get to 4 or something like that.
Let's do it that way and get the letters out and see what kind of response we get in 30 days. Well, that didn't go that bad.
So 111.
I have just one question about the letters. So if you're sending all the rest of the ones letters, do you want letters going to the 2 that you intend on inspecting anyway?
I'd do them all. I think that way,
That was my understanding, that the ones to be inspected will get a letter first, and then, am I understanding this right?
No, I was planning on, they were gonna get a notice of inspection.
Oh, okay,
Come.
I misunderstood.
I thought we were holding off on those 2, giving letters to the
but if you
rest.
send a letter to everybody, and then you can, when you come back, I mean, if the people that we're supposed to inspect all of a sudden know, then maybe we'll come back and say, okay, we're gonna demolish it, or we wanna sell it, or something else. But I would do a letter, I would do a letter to everybody saying, you're on the list.
Yeah,
And then
Okay,
in 30 days, then come back. Now we know we've got 2 on the inspection list, but let's see if anything else. Maybe these other 2 all of a sudden come back and say,
Maybe they surprise us.
right,
right, and that'll save the city money for an inspection
yes,
at this point.
okay.
So
send a letter.
letters to everybody except
No.
622.
All.
Everybody.
someone comes in, decides to buy
But didn't you decide 622 was coming off the list? Or no?
Yeah, we said 622
Sixth
Sixth Avenue is being rehabbed. Take it off the list.
Everybody except 622. Okay.
I'm sorry. Anything else on that? Well.
And obviously the 1505
Especially if you
Fourth
have
Avenue.
this list in the order it's in versus the list that's in your agenda, which is different. I forget how we decided what we're trying to put them in numerical order.
One, two, three.
Okay, Steve, city administrator report. You got 2 minutes.
All right. The well field has gained a little bit. Happy to report that. I've been working with the Iowa Department of Ag Land Stewardship Urban Conservation, still with the possibility of getting grants at the well field for wetlands. And we had a conversation today, and she steered me towards an additional funding source at the DNR. We are still prepping for federal court. That's going to be May 1st. Excuse me, May 2nd. So Jay and I have talked about possible alternatives for one of the locations that is involved in that court case. But I don't have anything to report on that at the time. We're still researching that. I do have some rough ideas in my head, but Jay's gonna keep looking around for some ideas. I went to the Rural Summit with Kate and Ashley, and that's led to some follow-up meetings for some economic development stuff that we've been invited to. Jay has inspected the swimming pool, and I went up and looked it over, and I agree with his plan for fixing the leaks up there.
So what is his plan? You want him to answer that?
Fill it with Flex Seal.
It's just hard.
There's a lot of caulking everywhere, and the caulking needs replaced, and then there are some places where the concrete spalled out. So he wants to remove all of the caulking in the vessel and then into the overflow gutter, and replace all of that caulking, then repair some of the concrete cracks and major places where it's spalled out, and then Lance is gonna paint over it to try to seal all that up.
So are we gonna have to break some concrete to get to those?
No, it's just scrape, it's gonna be a lot of scraping and hammering.
It's really, I don't know, it's like really spalled and bad inside the gutter lines. And that's where it's breaking off. All the gutters drain back to the surge tanks. And then what don't make it to the surge tanks is going down into the clean rock, which is going in where it's running back in the deep well. And then that's where it's getting pumped out to the creek or storm sewer when there's chlorine in it. But they were probably there last year, but I didn't even pull them grates on the gutter lines until I went up there early this year and I pumped water out of the surge tanks into the pool because I wanted to see where it was dropping to. Well, then it led me to the caulk joints. I could just watch the water running down them. So then I followed the caulk joints up the wall and then down through the gutters, and that's when I found the spalding, and it started making sense.
Okay.
So I think that he's gonna be able to tighten that vessel up significantly more than we were able to last year. I mean, we did the heavy lifting and now it's kind of dialing it in.
Just a side note on that, if you followed anything, Williamsburg isn't gonna open their pool. They got 5 lifeguards. They don't come up with more lifeguards. Williamsburg won't be open. They were not open on Mondays last year because they didn't have enough lifeguards. Of course, Marengo doesn't have a new pool built yet, so we'll be the only dog, or well, Kyoto's opening a new pool sometime in June, but yeah, it's too far to drive. So Lance told me he was about 4 kids short of where he wanted to be, but he was farther ahead at this point now than he had before. So we'll be in good shape. Now, I'm going to assume that Williamsburg is going to do more than just say at a council meeting, we're not going to open the pool. That's not going to make the public happy. If that happens here, you guys get your bathing suits on because you're going to go up and get certified.
I still got my lifeguard's whistle. I can bench them.
Yeah, we have a.
I can bench them like I did before.
I just had a couple more quick things. So we had a quote come in to drill a test well. First one was to drill 2 test wells, and then I dialed it back to drill 1 test well. And I've been thinking about that and talking with some people about it. And I'm going to recommend that we move forward with that at the next council meeting. I'd like to put that on the agenda so that we can start with a test well out at the well field in the southern well, that'd be south of well 4. Northway has recommended an engineer that they work with really well, that is good at kind of figuring out where to put the test well to get the best production. So I've been talking with them. So we can expect that person to be coming with some proposals in the next, as soon as the council will entertain having that person here. They're in alignment with what we feel we need to be doing in the scalable way. And Jack, the filter guy, checks in periodically. He called me the other day just to see how things are going, and just I gave him some updates. I'm still working with ECOG on the spring tree grant, and I just wanted to remind everybody that not all of the boring crews are in town, but there are a lot of boring crews in town for some of the build out projects. And there's just going to be a lot of construction vehicles around. And if you see flags out in your yard, that's because there's a crew coming your way. And
Bruce Gasper had a funny line on social media.
What's that?
It says, well, springs around the flags are popping up all over.
Yeah.
Except we've had some people think that they can go out and remove the flags when they want to mow. Well, you got to put them back, folks. They're there for a purpose. When they finish their project, they will take them out of there. But the last thing we need is taking flags out, and now all of a sudden we've got a boring company going through a sewer line or a water line or
So we've been trying to make sure someone was on standby at a boring site at all times when they were going by any critical infrastructure. Does anybody have any questions about any of that stuff?
Any discussion between, did a meeting happen between the city and the school?
No, he never got back to us. That's not that it's not still open for it, because I think their next project's going on 16th Street.
I haven't been involved with that much.
Okay, just curious.
But, so I don't, the mayor hasn't been feeling well, and I don't know if Chad was just kind of waiting to see what happened.
I think
And
Chad stalled.
so, I haven't done anything to facilitate that, but if anybody, if you all would like me to direct me to do that, I could try to set something up.
If you want, I can send him another email.
Well, I know that I've been bugging the school district to make sure that they're going to put grass seed on the property.
There's the contractor is supposed to be doing that, to my knowledge.
I saw it looked like some, maybe erosion strips put up there.
It looked like someone had worked on
I
the
saw it
property.
today, down
'Cause I had-
where the old driveway used to be closest to the ballpark.
Because we complained
There was,
dirt was eroding onto our softball.
yeah,
Yeah.
there was
Little League done.
quite a bit of erosion going on there, and I saw it, actually saw it today when I looked over there.
So I
So
asked,
something-
I asked
something's
Park
going
and
on.
Rec to go to the school and complain, and if that didn't work, I said, we'll deal with it, the council.
It looks like someone has gone over it.
I will
Yes, there
send
were
another
runs.
email to Chad and see if he's available for a meeting.
And along the erosion lines, I've had a few complaints coming in from the new Dollar General Marketplace where they didn't complete the seeding or sodding on the back and it's washing out into the highway. I'm trying to work with Dollar General, but if they don't get something going, they're going to start getting citations from the DOT and the DNR. So we're trying to work with them. They're hard to get a hold of. There are some other
I'm sure
issues I
that's
have
a
with them too.
problem. You can go complain to everybody that works down there, but they got no control.
No, there are some other things that I'm trying to get a hold of them and they're,
I didn't ask, these guys left too soon before I asked, and I didn't think of it. Is there a RAGBRAI committee?
Yes.
Okay.
We appointed chairman, Ashley, and Sandy.
No. I'm not a
You're
chairman.
not the official chairman, well,
No.
she's,
Ashley, Dran, and Mitch Jacoby are co-chairmen.
yes.
And then Donette Boots and I are part of the chair committee.
So she's representing the city.
Okay. So I've had people ask what's going on and
Well, and some of them are jumping out of their first place. RAGBRAI's got a say in what's done, and their first say was, believe they're going down 13th Street to 9th Avenue, coming down and going backwards down 12th
Maybe.
Street. Maybe. That's not written in stone yet. Of course, technically, you have to approve that, but I'm gonna assume that you wouldn't tell RAGBRAI to buzz off. So yes, there is
okay.
a committee formed and we kept it, we'll supply whatever, how many ever policemen we have on.
We talked to county, they've said that they'll send help as well. From a police standpoint, whatever that means. Yeah, I would say we'll know a lot more and give us a couple more weeks.
One last shot, please.
I think your next headache to start worrying about is,
Jay just volunteered to help do security that day.
Yeah, boy.
He's gonna be-
Get that new claw out.
Yeah, he's gonna be busy working with me.
No, he's gonna
we'll
be
just get you
busy.
one of those shirts like those
Oh,
guys
toilet.
July 3rd dance wear that says security on the back, the guys with the hearing aids.
Walk softly.
Just talking your wrist. The next problem is what, sir?
What we heard tonight
Oh,
from the
yeah.
Lions Club, that is gonna be
Yep.
a big one. And it's gonna start with,
Well, I heard a little wiggle in there, so I think probably they would help. They probably just don't want to be totally in charge, but
They offered to help with the transition.
I bet some of those guys would probably still be on a committee if that happened, but I think them as a whole, so.
well, some we're gonna have to start working on as soon as the 4th's over. Because that's not as easy a proposition as put together. I mean, you think about, I just think the number of phone calls we were making last 4th of July, trying to determine whether the parade was gonna happen or not. I'm sitting at Chevy dealer and it's just pounding rain down. Firemen are out looking up in the rain going, are we supposed to put the trucks out in this and go to the parade? No, guys, we're moved back to 10. Now we're back to 11. And just,
The first call was, we're canceling. I went, no.
well, that was the discussion between
Yeah.
8:30 and 9 o'clock when it was raining so hard I couldn't see the fire department across the street from the Chevy dealer. I'm going, we're never gonna be able to do this. Anything else from you, Steve?
No.
I had one question. Are there any business incentive grants coming our way? Do we have a backlog or where are we with those?
Ashley received one and, we talked with the business owner and it was the narrative was a little vague in it. And the quote was very vague. I understood what the quote said, but it wasn't illustrated in the narrative. So
we don't have anything coming our way then.
Until I get that back.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have no current meeting reports because I had no meetings. I do have a landfill meeting tomorrow night. Let me update you on something that the state legislature did this week. They're now changing emergency management meetings and they're gonna design us more like the county assessors meeting. The bill that's coming out, I think it's passed both houses and going to the governor, says the sheriff will be the head of emergency management, no longer an elected emergency management by the emergency management committee. And they will design it like the assessors. So the assessors meeting, the superintendents are one vote, the mayors are one vote, and the board of supervisors is one vote. And I'm going, wait a minute. And it's all because we do have a taxable item that we do with emergency management. What's the school got to do with this? And they, believe me, they never show up at the assessors meeting. They call in once in the last 10 years. And you got to remember, we have more superintendents than we think about because it's Belle Plaine, Benton Community,
Benton Shellsburg.
Benton Shellsburg, Center Point, Urbana, and Cedar Rapids Prairie, because Watkins is in Benton County. So why would they get, and then the mayors who represent a vast, there could be 20 of us mayors there. We get one vote, they get one vote, and the supervisors get one vote. The emergency management group is up in arms, but it's going to get signed. I don't think the sheriff's real happy about having to head that committee because he already has to head the 911 committee. So it's just another one. But where they got the idea that should be changed.
They're just messing with all kinds of home rule stuff.
Well, they're just keep putting their thumb on a machine gun and shooting out here. I mean, they changed the rule a few years back that all the budget stuff on that, you had to have elected officials vote on it only. So if I had a civilian, one time Louis was our representative there, he couldn't vote on anything that did financially. It had to be your elected official. So it was either city councilman or a mayor. Sometimes it's tough to get 7 mayors to show up in Benton. In fact, one of the last budget meetings, we waited 45 minutes for the mayor of Benton to show up, which, needless to say, the 6 mayors that were there got a little hot because we had all voted quite. We were in Benton for the meeting. Online payment of bills, I'm gonna get to that. Sandy, do you want to explain to them what we need, a yes or a no on there?
So I just really wanted to know all of your thoughts. I know you signed or you approved a resolution a while back of certain online payments that were approved for us to make. I didn't know how you felt about expanding that list, if you just as soon not go there, if you are more comfortable having checks go out to pay for everything. We keep running into situations where we had a credit card check take 40 days to get there. Obviously, they want to hit you up with penalties on stuff like that. Alliant bills, the last Alliant bill took 16 days to get there. Well, you can't pay it fast enough and have it get there on time. So we're just kind of winding up with more and more of that. And it's random. Then the next time you get something there and it took 4 days to deliver or 3 days to deliver, so I just can't.
Plus, won't that reduce a lot of time and effort on your part if you can do all these online?
It would save postage, it'd save some envelopes, which is,
And
not a
you
huge
can
amount of
audit
money, but.
everything. So now, are you talking about like an ACH automatically, or is this just more you guys doing
I
online?
would rather not
Yeah.
do ACH. I mean, we have some, but primarily the ACHs that we do are with the state
Right.
or federal government. Just because that's kind
I'm
of the only
thinking
way you
anything
can
you
do
can
it.
do online to save
But
postage time and
If you
get
were good with
payments.
us expanding that a little bit, and then you want to approve a list, or you want me just to bring forth a list of after a month or two of ones that we're transitioning that way?
I think we trust your judgment. I would say you bring us a list of what you've done, but as long as you guys can monitor and audit and make sure that it's going
Personally,
through
the ones
okay.
I'm most comfortable with are the ones where I have to log into their site and say, I want to pay this amount of money
Right.
on this date.
Yes.
Right.
As opposed to just saying, yeah, sure.
But like Alliant Energy, we don't contest those bills and we have to pay them and we can't fight about them and I approve them, I look them over, but they just need to be paid.
And it would still, they're still gonna show up on your list. You're still gonna see how much they were and who we were paying to, and it would still show up there, before I actually hit pay.
Plus,
I
plus
wanted,
by
I
emails
just
and
wanted to
response from that,
see
you
how you
actually
guys-
have a nice trackability
Yeah.
on communication on what's getting paid. I'd say you absolutely do that. It's a lot
Just
more,
don't
lot
set it
more
up on
efficient.
automatic.
no, like I said, I
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
And
There
then-
are
and
very
then-
few that are just automatic. The state has several that just happen. But,
Once you give me your account number.
Oh, yeah. they
and
get it.
Delta Dental, that's oddly enough, but that's it. Everybody else is.
Then bring
I have to go in.
them a list of the ones that you're gonna do it with, so that they're made aware
Yeah.
that those are the ones we're gonna do online payments with.
Okay. Great,
All right.
thanks.
There's Arbor Day Foundation letter in there to you that I'm sure you can read on your own. I don't have old business. Any resident comments?
Nice to see you, Mary.
I missed you last time.
I know.
Mary have anything she wants to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council, I'm looking for a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion for adjournment.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Non-negotiable. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0 and you're out at 8:21 PM.
No, I don't.